The project I'm going to talk to you about is called the Pothole Gardener, which I think might resonate with some of you keen cyclists and gardeners out there. And it's pretty much what it says on the tin. I create gardens in potholes. So I'm from Australia, and indeed I grew up in the bush capital in Canberra with a population of just 260,000. And space is definitely not an issue where I come from. We were lucky enough to have a big back garden, and pretty much gardening was a way of life. Lots of brothers and sisters, and we all chipped in, mowing the lawn, raking the leaves, getting out there, getting your hands dirty. Maybe it's the sunshine, but I think there's something quite therapeutic about gardening. And I remember the Great Battle of 1984, when my father waged war on the snails that were invading his vegetable patch. So I moved to London about 8 years ago, and, well, I was planning to stay here for, 2 years? Haven't left quite yet. And there's something that the space aspect of London, I've never got used to not having space. And I think that has helped me lead my gardening onto the streets. So I started doing some guerrilla gardening, and Richard Reynolds is definitely the godfather of guerrilla gardening in London, and he's done some fantastic projects. And I also wanted to mention Anna Garforth, who's done some wonderful work, including the Moss Cross. And also, this man is actually my grandfather, James Radcliffe, who I gardened with many years ago, and he actually bred the first daffodil with a red trumpet. So there's some of my gardening heroes. So Columbia Road Markets is one of my favourite places in London. It's nothing I quite like more than going up to Columbia Road on a Sunday morning and checking out the flowers and the plants, and the sellers there have the most wonderful, wonderful ways of enticing you into buying their wares. From sexy geraniums to get in her pants, pansies. It's just a wonderful Sunday morning out. And it was after one of my outings on a Sunday morning when I was taking some plants home to my little flat with some flowers under my arm that I came across a pothole. And I wondered about the possibility of creating a little garden in that pothole. And that is pretty much when my project was born. So I was a master's student at the time, so of course I procrastinated. And I came across these hardy dianthus, and I thought, right, I wonder how hardy you actually are. So I grabbed them, and I created my first little garden. And this is the first in a series. It's quite simple. I just literally went out one morning and put the plants in a pothole. And my project was born. I didn't think it was that funny, but... Anyway, it was after one of my early morning gardening expeditions that I ran across the road after I planted this little garden. And I sat down and I watched this guy coming out of his flat. And he was obviously on his work and he was in a hurry. He kind of got out of his flat and slammed the door shut and was busily on his way, and he stopped and he saw this little garden outside of his house, and I could just almost hear his thought process. It was like, what is this garden doing here? Why is it here? So he pulled out his iPhone and he took a snap, and he was smiling from ear to ear, and off he waltzed, and pretty much from then on I was hooked. So my gardens have been getting a little bit more elaborate. This is one of my gardens that I created with a photographer friend of mine. And this is the first time I started adding miniature props to my gardens. A little chair and a little book. So I started publishing my pictures on my little blog, and I started getting a few more hits, which I was excited about. And one night I was at the pub, and I got a call from a journalist. I didn't take it too seriously. I had a few beers. And he emailed me the next day and said, "Oh, Steve, can I get a couple of photos?" I said, sure, if you really care about my little gardens that much, you can have the photos. And anyway, a couple of days later, I was sleeping in. I was a uni student, and my phone started ringing. And it didn't stop ringing. I thought, wow, something must really be up. You know, my friends know what I'm like. And so I answered the phone. It was one of my friends saying, oh, Steve, have you seen the papers today? No. Anyway, I was splashed across the Sun, the Metro, the Mumbai Mirror, the Globe and Mail, and it was just astounding. I had BBC News on the phone asking to go out pothole gardening that afternoon, and I thought, crikey, better get a haircut. So my gardening antics have continued, and I've never sent a press release or anything, but people seem to be intrigued with what I do. This is a garden I created recently next to Tower Bridge, obviously, and this one was entitled Call Me, and it's the cover for my book that's coming out later this year called The Little Book of Little Gardens. I came up with that name myself. This is a garden I created with my friend Kate McCauley recently to celebrate London Fashion Week. And this is a garden I created after the London riots, and it's called Love London. And I met this fellow after I'd just finished the garden, and he was quite intrigued with what I was doing, and I had a long chat with him. And at first, he was quite aggressive, and he wasn't quite sure how to take the garden, but after we had a chat and I explained what I was doing, we got on really quite well. And it's these reactions that I'm absolutely fascinated with. And so I created a short documentary called Holes of Happiness, which is all about how different people Sorry, maybe I'm treading on your territory. So, Holes of Happiness is a documentary all about people's reactions to my gardens and what they think about them. So, here's a short excerpt.
Well, we were walking along the street and we came across a little rose garden, very small rose garden.
Some compost and some flowers in the pavement. Doesn't make me feel bad, so it's a positive feeling.
You can see the lovely flower and you know, the fruits growing with it. It's lovely.
All right, when I saw the plant, I did like it. It had nice color, and that's how I want to take it. I want to take it to my house.
Basically green with your red flower, then a yellow flower. Really beautiful.
It was quite unusual to see greenery in a concrete jungle like Brick Lane. It's quite nice.
The flowers are pretty, yeah. The green, not much of it, is the best things come in small packages, isn't it?
It's quite unusual because East London is very concretey. So when I saw it, I was quite surprised.
It brightened up our day a little bit because it is quite grey today, and the red, the flowers was really nice. I do want to touch it.
Refresh your mind, something nature. We are the part of nature.
What have you got there? You've got a high, is that a hyacinth? It's a hyacinth.
And some snowdrops and pansies.
Lovely, lovely. Well, that's a bit of a change.
First of all, I thought it was natural, so I thought, well, that's really interesting, like the way nature finds its way, even in the urban world.
Though I did wonder whether maybe it just cropped up of its own accord, which was a nice thought, but possibly not the most realistic.
God didn't put them there, but He gave us the will to put them there. There you go.
I suppose it might highlight how much we use cars instead of walking and public transport.
I see that more as a kind of street art, more as an aesthetic intervention rather than a awareness of a pothole.
I'd be interested. Who did it and why? Why someone planted a small garden in the pothole? I think that someone might want to plant a small garden in a pothole because they might want to make a point that this is actually an unnecessary thing, but also, well, it might be also to beautify the city.
It is very pretty, and I hope it'll be left there, that they won't go over it with their flippant car.
I don't think the length of the life of the garden would be the problem. I suppose it would be more the way it might meet its end. So if it was going to be constantly run over by cars, it would be a little bit sad, I suppose.
Yeah, at least we can see it. It's more visible when you're driving or anything. Yeah.
I think a better way of highlighting a pothole would be a big lump of something really nasty. Flowers, don't think flowers would work, mate. We need metal spikes and chains for London. Flowers won't work.
Thank you. So this is my little documentary. We had so much fun filming it. We'd create these little gardens and then hang out at the cafe next, across the road, and set up the camera under one of our jackets and just film people's reactions and then run over and grab them after they were out of shot and have a talk to them about why they thought these little gardens were here. And I think that the special thing about these gardens is getting people to stop and take a little bit of time. Everyone in London is so rushed off their feet. Everyone's on their way somewhere. And I think somehow these little gardens kind of slow people down in their tracks a little bit. You may think that this man is Pothole Gardener enemy number one. But he was fantastic. And he wanted to steal my garden, and that's okay. The nature of these gardens are so ephemeral. Sometimes they only last for a few minutes. Sometimes they last a few years. But the fact that he liked it so much, he wanted to take it home. Maybe I should make a shop or something. So the future of my gardens, I've been working with a few charities, including the PTES, that's the People's Trust for Endangered Species. And I was helping them raise awareness of hedgehogs, native to the UK, and people planting hedgehog-friendly gardens. So I've got a few projects like that in the pipeline, including working with the Chelsea Fringe Festival, which is an offshoot of the Chelsea Flower Show later this year. I love it when people get involved pothole gardening, and people send me photos all the time of their little creations that they make. And if you feel like getting involved, that'd be great. These are my details. Thank you very much.